Hey, this is Charles On Yet with IGN. I'm here with Ryan Clements.
Hello, sir. How are you, Charlie?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
And we're looking at Borderlands 2 here. Now, this is gameplay footage. We are not playing. We are just commenting over a demo. But this was shown off at E3 2012. And this is Axton, the Commando Class that we're looking at right here, who is just the floating gun you see on screen.
Right. We're playing as him. We're not. The Axton isn't the statue. We are playing as Axton.
Yes, and the statue is actually Handsome Jack, who is the game's main villain. You'll see him pop up in the upper right of the screen from time to time. He actually talks to you to develop the storyline as the game goes on pretty regularly. And I think if you've played the downloadable content from Borderlands 1, that is a story delivery mechanic you're used to, where basically characters show up and they crack jokes to you through the top right of the screen, and that is the case here. Borderlands 2 seems to be a much heavier focus on humor than the original version of Borderlands.
Right.
In the DLCs, they were much funnier. There was more of a sense of humor, particularly like the Secret Armory of General Knox had a great sense of humor about it. Really goofy, just nonsensical, which I think works with this style of game, which doesn't really make any sense. I mean, you're looking on screen, it's just like, what is going on right now?
But even though the humor value may have been increased from the original Borderlands, obviously the running, the gunning, and then the crazy amount of loot remains the same. This game is very much all about the guns that you can collect and all the crazy damage you can do with everything.
Yeah, it is a loot-driven game. But it is also a first-person shooter.
Loot.
So yes,
like all this delicious loot we're looking at.
We're opening treasure chests here. You can actually see the item pop-up you see on screen there has all the different statistics for the gun. So at a glance, you can see its properties as well as how that relates to what you're currently holding. So you can see the weapon switching. You see the up and down, the green and red arrows on the pop-up displays there, so that you don't need to spend a lot of time figuring out if that weapon is actually an upgrade or not.
Right.
And the upgrades aren't just statistical, so it's not just like, oh, hey, this gun does more damage, and that's the only thing you're considering. There are different elemental types on the weapon. You can see on that pane there's...
Explosive!
It is. It's explosive, which is fitting as you see a rocket launcher here. But yeah, you have a whole bunch of different elemental types related to the weapons.
There's Claptrap in the corner, by the way.
Yeah, there's Claptrap. Returns in Borderlands 2, gives all sorts of hilarious instructions. And in this case, Claptrap and you are guarding this hacked Overseer bot. So the bot has a health bar that you're trying to preserve. You can see one of the goals in the right side of the screen is to keep it above 50% health. So it's kind of like an escort quest. And then once it approaches statues of Handsome Jack, it's going to start trying to cut them down. And Handsome Jack does not like that, so...
No. He wants those statues up.
He does. And when he shows up, he'll basically just yell at you and make fun of you in a humorous way. So there's a statue. The robot is going to set up its cutting laser. There you go. And slice through the statue, and in the meantime, you're trying to protect it from these waves of enemies that are jumping in. So to talk about the actual mechanics of the Commando class, you've seen in the video turrets that have popped up from time to time, and that is similar to the soldier from the first Borderlands, where periodically with the action skill, which you can actually see the action skill icon is down in the bottom left of the screen above the shield and health icons.
Glowing green, which means it's ready to use, correct?
Yes, it does. And there's a cooldown on that, so you can't just spam turrets. But when you do put up the turret, it will just automatically fire at enemies, so it gives you some extra power, which is especially useful in situations like this where you're trying to defend specific territory.
Now, Charlie, can enemies or NPCs take down your turret? Can it be destroyed during its deployment?
I'm not actually sure about that. It can. It only has a limited time of deployal.
Of operation.
So yeah,
okay.
Once it comes up here, we see a little bit of the menu system. We can't see much of the actual skill trees. You can greatly modify the functionality of the turret, so it's not just firing bullets all the time. It can be modified to do a whole bunch of different things, which I can talk about in a bit. But yeah, when the turret does come out, you'll see at the center of the screen there's a timer on it. So while it fires, it only has a limited time to exist there. And then what you can do, if you're sort of done with it before the timer actually expires, you can recall it, which I believe starts the cooldown back again. You can see in the bottom right of the screen it's just kind of on fire there. Which
There's a spinning shuriken of fire
there's a
going on something there.
Fiery shuriken. But yeah, once the timer expires, as right there, you can see the cooldown resets, and then you have to wait until that's back, until you can deploy the turret again. So against this boss-style character, an enemy constructor, you're without that additional help. And you can see the enemies are all trying to destroy your constructor. And then you will fight sort of boss-type enemies like this who have a bunch of special attacks. You can see he's firing missiles at you, he's spawning other enemies who probably didn't want to stand...
It's all sorts of disaster.
...directly in the way of that missile. But
No, certainly not.
There you have it.
It's dangerous for your health. Charlie, can you just walk us through the other parts of the HUD, just because it's very overwhelming for someone who might not have played Borderlands?
Yeah, I guess that is true. There's a lot of information on screen. You're seeing damage totals pop up from other enemies. As you're dealing damage, you have your quest goals in the top right, along with a mini-map that shows enemy positions, which is helpful. You do have grenades as well.
Mm-hmm. Which is above your ammo count in the lower right.
Yeah, and like the weapons, there are a whole bunch of different types of grenades that you can pick up. It's not just standard, oh, I threw a grenade, it's going to do area of effect damage. You can have electrical effects, they can have all sorts of different elemental effects like the weapons.
Explosions.
As well as more specialized effects like teleporting and the ability to blow up in cluster formation, so you get one explosion which sends out more grenades that do more explosions. They can return health to you, so it can actually be kind of a heal. So yeah, you have a lot of ways to modify your character there. We see another turret go up that is doing its auto-targeting and firing at things. And yeah, the turret itself, when you send it out, you can modify that so it does things like you can actually have it teleport to distant locations. There are things in the game called longbow grenades that when you...
Of course there are.
Yes, of course there are. When you send them out, they will actually do a kind of teleport to a further location. So you don't necessarily have to wait for them to fly through the air. You can add that kind of functionality onto your turret. It can also provide group buffs and things like that. And the way it works in Borderlands 2 for the Commando Class, Axton, the turret will actually change in appearance as you modify it with things like missiles and things like that. So you can actually look at a turret, even if you're not playing as a commando, and know sort of how that turret has been modified. So in multiplayer situations like this, because this is a game with two other people playing.
Shown on the upper left?
Yes, that is in the upper left. You can see the other characters there, and also on screen. And
yes.
One of them is actually an assassin, who is one of another one of 4 character classes that we know of in detail. There's actually a 5th, a Mechromancer, that Gearbox has been talking about. We don't know a lot of details on the Mechromancer yet, but oh man, you can see the turret in very good position there. And that enemy was actually locked in the air by a phase lock, which is from a siren who's also running around here, and that phase lock just, yeah, suspends enemies in the air.
And that's her special ability. That's her equivalent of the turret.
Yeah. And so you can see the turret was reclaimed in that case, and the cooldown was accelerated, so it's almost back to usable again. So there is an advantage to taking it down early.
Okay. Yeah, because if it's just sitting there and not shooting at anything,
right,
it's
exactly.
wasting your time.
No, why bother?
Why bother? You could just recall that turret. Bring that turret right back in.
Yeah, you really do need to get back to that flaming shuriken state. That is certainly the most helpful. You know, and another cool, you're modifying the way your action skill works. Each class gets one action skill. You're modifying your grenades. You have different shield mods that you can equip that affect your shields, how fast they regenerate, and things like that. And the weapons themselves, you can see there's a lot of variety on the actual appearance of the weapon. Mm-hmm. You have a revolver here with 2 sights.
for some reason.
For some reason. Doesn't matter. Just put more stuff on there.
Just go with it.
You can see how it's being fired with the palm of the left hand as opposed to just using the trigger. So you get a lot of different animations. Yes. You get a lot of different styles of weapon, and a lot of different appearance, like the models of the guns vary greatly depending on what the actual attack properties are. So right. you can notice at a glance in some cases what the weapon will do just by what it looks like, and that differs again along the different types of manufacturers of weapons in the game. They're, like, this is a TDR weapon. Those have certain characteristics. You'll notice a reload here. Should toss the gun in front of you, and then it kind of rematerializes in your hand. So you do get different effects there depending on the manufacturer as well. So there's certainly a lot to consider when building your character and when figuring out how best how best to kill enemies.
Absolutely.
What style do you want to just murder everything on screen? Which is basically what you do. You just murder something spawns and then you just kill it. You just constantly murder stuff.
I would like to point out that our previous question was just answered a few short minutes ago when the enemies the turret that you're deploying does draw enemy fire, and it was destroyed a few minutes ago by enemies.
Yeah, and
so it is a vulnerable target when you're throwing it out there.
And yes, it also serves to draw enemy fire. So in case you and your group maybe want a little bit of relief from a lot of incoming enemy fire, you toss out the turret and the enemies target it for a while, giving you some free shots, maybe a chance to regenerate health and a chance to regenerate shields. Handsome Jack has not been very happy with what you're doing here.
No, certainly not. You're wrecking his house.
So this part, so you go back to the Overseer. This is the robot that you've been protecting the entire time, and you instruct it to dance. So this is instructing it to perform dance protocols. Here it goes. It's dancing. It's dancing, and oh no! Oh my!
Oh no! Oh no! It's no.
Oh my goodness!
No!
It turned into a mushroom cloud. That is usually. I mean, sometimes you can dance well, but you never want that to end with the finale of dancing well. Should never be a mushroom cloud.
No, Charlie, I love to dance, and if I combusted at the end of a dance session, that'd just be awful. Awful. Oh dear.
Yeah, and so here we see
here's a guy.
A much more significant. You have the badass versions of enemies, which you see down at the bottom, and then you have a huge boss character who's firing airborne enemies at you that seem to be dive bombing all over the place. A lot of specialized attacks there, a lot of incoming fire. So it's challenges like this that make being in a group a little more worth it, even though this entire group is dead right now. Everyone is dying.
I love the flashing is dying in the corner.
For more on Borderlands 2, head over to IGN.com.